What if the life you're building is costing you the life you actually want? Jack Campbell is forced to answer these exact questions. Success or significance? Wealth or connection? A Ferrari or people who would cry if you disappeared? Because the real story of a man isn't what he achieves, it's who he becomes. So ask yourself, who will you choose?
The movies and stories we love are gateways to see ourselves and God in new ways.
Every great story borrows its power from a larger story, the story that's written on our hearts and woven into the fabric of our very being.
Hello and welcome to the Men at the Movies podcast. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It's about that time of year, Britt, as we're celebrating. It's our Christmas episode. We've done some pretty fun Christmas episodes over the years.
Yeah.
Which one was your favorite? It's like asking your favorite child.
Yeah. The two kind of that are tied for my favorite. I think It's a Wonderful Life was powerful.
Yeah.
Which is very similar to some of the stuff we're going to talk about today.
A little bit of overlap.
And I thought doing Elf with the guys with the four of us was real fun. That was real fun. Was that a two-parter? Yeah. I think that was even a two-parter, wasn't it?
I think when I get you with JB and Rob, that turns into a two-parter because it's tough to get a word in edgewise. Words are not at a loss. We did. Die Hard is always
that was a good one.
Tender spot for me because that was our first Christmas episode we did together.
Yeah,
I think it was like our second ever episode. Lethal Weapon we did.
Yeah.
That one's less memorable other than for the shock value of using that as a holiday movie. I think we did Elf was great. Was it last year we did the Muppets Christmas?
Oh yeah, Muppets Christmas Carol. Yeah.
Which again, Christmas Carol, It's a Wonderful Life, sort of blended up, and that's what you get in the movie we're going to talk about today with the Family Man.
Absolutely.
So there's a you brought this up in our conversation beforehand. And before we get into this, I just want to make the plug early that we have study guides for every episode. So there's a link in the show notes. You can go to the website, menatthemovies.com, and there's study guides right there. And you can get study guides. We've only started this year, so they don't go all the way back to the entire catalog. But for these movies, and they have the key themes, they have discussion questions, they have action items where you can actually take some of the ideas that we discussed and we're like, okay, how can I implement that into my life? So that's one of the exciting things that I've started this year as we get to the end of 2025. We've got a newsletter where you get it all delivered right to your mailbox. So you don't even have to click on anything. So that you can sign up for that, menatthemovies.com/subscribe. And I just wanted to get that plug out of the way and the other thing we talk about is Buy Me a Coffee, where our supporters through it's buymeacoffee.com/menatthemovies, where they get access to some of this pre-conversation stuff. Some of it's good. I mean, some of it, if you like fun banter, Paul Nicolas said, come for the witty banter. But we talk a lot about how we're going to frame our conversations.
Yeah.
And one of the things you talked about that I thought was an interesting concept was you talked about going to see this movie in 2000 with Becca.
Mm.
And 2000 was the year you got married.
Mm-hmm.
And how watching it today is different. 25 years later.
Right.
This is a movie I've talked about doing with you for a while. It pops up and finally it was like, dude, we got to do a Christmas episode. Let's suck it up and do Family Man. I'm going to override all your 25 suggestions. But thinking back to going to see it with Becca, what do you remember from that, 25 years ago as a man in your mid,
Yeah. So
late 20s?
Late 20s. Yeah. Late-ish. I was. So Family Man was one of those movies that had, it was kind of a very similar theme, a very similar message to like Hook, that sort of idea of we easily get distracted by an idea of success and then miss the important parts of life. And there are a lot of movies that sort of have this, namely It's a Wonderful Life, which we've done, and
Scrooge.
And Scrooge to some degree. Although, this movie has a lot in common with Scrooge or Christmas Carol and the opportunity to change sort of idea. A lot of them do, right? That's, transformation is the heart of the story sort of thing. So I think the big difference, though, I think it's a really great question because, that was before. So when we saw it at the time, it was something I was already considering and I already had in my mind and already had in this way of thinking, in the sense of what's really important in life. What are the important things in life? And it's not the job. It's not the money. I mean, we got to have that stuff because you got to eat and all that stuff. But, these are the things that are important. And so, and there was a lot that, went along. And so to have those sort of ideas probably, helped us to really, along with our faith and all that, it helped us to move to Korea 2 years into our marriage. We both had jobs. We were at the beginning of a school career. We could have gone places sort of thing, and sacrificed a lot to go overseas. But for us, it was making choices based on different criteria than, put in my 30 years, have a good retirement, not that any of that is bad, but, it was more, okay, what's God calling us to do? What's the adventure? What are we called to do? But I also think it's a good question because looking back, I could ask myself, have I lived the last 25 years keeping the most important things in mind? And I think the answer is yes. But at the same time, there's sort of a mixed bag in there, right? Because, now your kids get to the teenage years and it's, there's the struggles and there's the different issues that kind of pop up. But, and I think that it's still something that we, that we try to, and I had to learn a lot along the way. I mean, so even though you have the idea, you got to figure it out, what that looks like for you. And, so, for us, it's still family's important. Having dinner together is important. There's certain things of not just getting into the rut, making sure we're not over. This is a big thing for us now with 2 kids in high school and they've got their stuff. It's how do we guide them, help them, even say no to stuff for them and say, look, right. I mean, we can't overcommit ourselves because in 20 years, what's going to matter is that we still spent time together while you were here. One day you're going to leave us and I want to take advantage of this time that we had together. So I think it's a great question. I think overall the answer is yes, but I think I've had to learn a lot and adjust it to the season of the kids and what that looks like. Yeah.
Probably did you a little dirty, asking a big question and then not really giving you time to think about it.
It was good.
So I got to think about my answer while you were talking. But like you said, when we saw it the first time, we were in our 20s. We had our life ahead of us. We, in a lot of ways, we were that very first opening scene.
Right.
What are we going to choose? Are we going to go to London or are we going to stay with Kate? That idea of like, yeah, this is how I want to set up my life. Now we're on this end. We're now in our 50s. And looking back, the question becomes, did I invest my time wisely? Did I, and for me, I got emotional at some points because like I know my choice in the moment and you feel that uncertainty. And so I actually, and so feeling that uncertainty and then the sort of the relief and the joy of what you have, gratitude has been a big theme for me. I think one of the reasons I was a good emergency room nurse is because I was really good at figuring out what's wrong. But if you always focus on what's wrong, you have a pretty miserable life.
Right.
So it's not a wonderful life. So if you haven't seen this movie, The Family Man, like I said, came out 2000, Nicolas Cage, Tia Leoni, probably the heights of their powers back then. And it opens with a scene, and I'm going to come back to this scene later because I actually want to start with a different scene from the middle of the movie because I do that sometimes. But Jack is he chooses to go to this internship for a year in London. They're separated. They promise they'll come back. Shocking, they don't. Because we see 13 years later, Jack is a highly successful businessman. He's not Scrooge. He's nice. He knows the doorman. He knows the valet. Like he engages. He's not a jerk. But he goes and he feels like his life is full. He has an interaction with Don Cheadle, the angel guy, basically. He wakes up as if he had come back, as if he and Tia Leoni, Kate is her name, as if he and Kate had stayed together and got married and had kids. And he's got stuff to figure out. But on their anniversary, because he doesn't know it's their anniversary, he has no memories of their 13 years. So he has to catch up. They're having dinner at this nice restaurant. He has a confession. And it's that being honest and vulnerable and realizing that your partner is in it with you. And as you sort of say, is like, we're all figuring it out as we go. And almost like it gives us permission for that to be okay. So here's that conversation.
I feel like I'm living someone else's life. I remember I used to walk to work, and I had a warm Bialy in my hand, and a hot cup of coffee from Dean and DeLuca, and a crisp feeling of the Wall Street Journal, smell of leather from my briefcase. And I used to be so sure about everything, confident, you know. I knew exactly who I was and what I wanted. And then one morning I woke up and suddenly it was all different.
Worse, do you mean?
No. Well, maybe a few things, but mostly just different. And it's okay. But I never used to be like this, Kate. I was the guy who had it all figured out. I had no doubts. I had no regrets.
No.
Now I don't. I don't have it all figured out.
Me neither.
But you always seem so certain.
Do you think there aren't mornings when I wake up and wonder what the hell am I doing in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah. My office is a dump. I answer my own phone and you've seen my paycheck.
But your paycheck is a disgrace to paycheck.
Can you imagine a life where everything was just easy? You know, like where you ask for things and then people just bring them to you?
It's wonderful.
I think about it too. I do. I wonder about what kind of life I would have had if I hadn't married you. And then I realize I've just erased all the things in my life that I'm sure about. You. And the kids.
Good things.
Yeah. What are you sure about?
I'm sure that right now, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than here with you.
Good answer, Jack.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to get himself out of the doghouse because he forgot. I mean, he never really knew.
Right.
He didn't know the anniversary, but so that is an amazing scene because
I was getting emotional watching it again.
I know, because that's how you have a difficult conversation. That's how you have a difficult conversation. We're in this together. And I'm not blaming you. And I'm not saying I don't want to be with you. Right. Right. He communicated what he was feeling without making her feel, because he could have easily made her feel like, I don't want to be with you anymore.
Right.
Right. And
well, some things are worse.
Well, some things are worse,
Mostly
but
just
that was honest.
Right.
That was honest. Like he wouldn't have been honest. He wouldn't have been vulnerable if he had said, no, everything's great. Everything's not great. And she knows everything's not great. But the choice, is, are we going to have a life with problems that mean something? Or are we going to have a life of ease that mean nothing? Like, that's what we've got. That is the choice, by the way. Like, that's the choice. The story that has meaning is going to have hardship, and you are not going to like it most of the time. But what you're going to get out of it is real. It's real. And I mean, he's learning that he's in the midst of learning that, because in the movie, he's just kind of, had to deal with this. And, I think it's a well-written part, right? That there's like, he could have this affair. Is it really cheating? I mean, like, he's not really married. Like, this isn't really his life, sort of. And
it brings in that question.
Yeah, it brings in that question. But it's good, right? To me, it's good writing because it allows his friend to say something really important. He was like, look, man, maybe I haven't been the best friend, but every guy I know would give his left nut to be with your wife. Like, you don't know what you've got. Like, it pissed him off. Like, that you would even consider.
Right.
She is so awesome. Right. Don't you know what you have? Right. And I think that another reason why you and I and most guys our age would get emotional during that scene is because even if we weren't, most of us have felt that feeling. How did I get here? How did I get where I'm getting peed on in the morning, and I've got to pick up dog crap, and I can't afford the stuff I want to. I can't treat myself to a suit that I want. I can't treat and because, a few scenes before that was where he kind of blows up and he's like, what's in this? What do I get out of this? Yeah. And that's the wrong question. I mean, or at least his thinking about what he should get out of it is that's the wrong mentality. And he was getting stuff out of it, but I think a lot of guys, and I think it's easy to get in that trap of, how did I get here? I don't have the things I thought I would have. I don't have the success I thought I would have. I don't have the blah, 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 blah. And I've got all these problems. I feel stuck and all this stuff, not realizing the value that they do have, the wealth that they do actually have, because they just have to measure it differently. But it's a great scene.
Yeah. And I think this movie is a lot about choice. And in our 20s, we're making the choices. In our 50s, we're living with the consequences of those choices.
Right.
For better or worse. And what I found in that moment was looking back at the some of the inflection points of my life and feeling very thankful for where I am. Has it been hard? Yes. Has it been pain? And yes. Yes. We all have experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
And to look back, like, I think we do have choices of, like she said, like, I could focus on all the things I don't have and be like, man, I wish I had somebody that would just say, I want a coffee and get me coffee, or fix my plane tickets, and they fix your plane tickets, as we'll see happens for her later in the movie. But what would I lose? And it's interesting because she names all those things that Jack's going to lose when he wakes up. You and the kids, the house, our friends, those things that are most important, that in a lot of ways make Kate who she is, she would lose in the pursuit of comfort, of ease, of wealth, because, you know, Jack has a Ferrari. He has an amazing apartment. He's pretty well fit. Yeah, he has a lot of good things, but he feels like his life is, he doesn't. He doesn't feel like his life's missing something. So I want to go back to the beginning of the movie, because apparently I like throwing us into the middle and then going back to the beginning. Because their moment, that dinner moment, is predicated on a choice made 13 years earlier. And so I want to go back to that moment. Like I said, this is the very opening of the movie, 1987. Like I said, this came out in 2000, so there's a 13-year gap. And they're at the airport. Jack's supposed to go for this internship in London. Kate's got this internship there in New York City. But you see this tension that I think we all feel and experience from time to time.
Wait. I have a really bad feeling about this.
About the plane? You think it's gonna crash? Don't say that.
Look, I know that we talked about this 1,000 times, and we agreed that going to London was the right thing to do. But in my heart, this feels wrong. Don't go, Jack.
You mean don't go at all? What about my internship?
Believe me, I know what an incredible opportunity this is for you.
For us, Kate.
Right, for us. But I'm afraid that if you get on that plane...
Look, we're at the airport. Nobody ever thinks clearly at the airport. So we should just trust the decision we already made. You've been accepted to one of the best law schools in the country. I've got this internship at Barclays Bank. We have a great plan, honey.
You want to do something great, Jack? Let's flush the plan. Let's start our lives right now, today. I mean, I have no idea what this life is going to look like, but I know that it has the both of us in it. And I choose us. The plan doesn't make us great, Jack. What we have together, that's what makes us great.
I love you, Kay.
I love you too.
And 1 year in London is not going to change that. 100 years couldn't change that.
Okay, so the first lesson of the movie is listen to your freaking wife. That's the first lesson of the movie. If most of the guys listening to this probably already understand this if you've been married for any length of time. But when your wife says this feels wrong, listen.
Right.
Listen. And you can maybe forgive him because he was in college or what. I mean, you can start to think he was young and stupid and doesn't get it, but that's the first lesson. Even the other night when I was sitting there watching it, I went, listen to her. You better listen.
So that's really my question, Britt. I wrote that down even. Is like, why do we want him to stay? Like in that moment, we are rooting for him to stay with her. Even though how many of us would trade the life that he has, drives a Ferrari, giant penthouse worth millions of dollars, like working these big world-changing deals, mergers in the economy. Like he has an impact. He has financial wealth. He has the freedom to go to whatever restaurant he wants, order whatever bottle of wine he wants. Probably has gone to Sydney Opera House to listen to the operas that he loves. He's run with the Bulls. He's done amazing things. And in that moment, we're like, dude, stay with her.
Okay, so I've got a couple of different answers to this. First of all, men fall in love faster than women do. This is statistically true. Men fall in love very quickly. Men actually want relationship more than we think they do. Like there's this idea floating around in the culture that like men don't want to commit, and they can be like that, but ultimately men at their core do want relationship. They do want this. That's why these movies make money. And so there's a reality to look, if this person loves you that much, you can get a different job. That's different. Right. There are other jobs out there. But at the same time, there is this element, but also at the same time, most men understand the temptation of wanting to feel worldly successful and financially secure. Like they have a lot, like they want to feel that
powerful, that
power,
like that's
that
what he
respect,
exuded was
that
power,
prestige, that they want to feel that element. And I'm not saying you can't have both, but I'm saying if you got to choose, then long term, having the wife and the kids and choosing your family, choosing what's more important, which is what these movies are trying to show, right? Then that's going to benefit you more in the long run, which is also statistically true. Like people who are married for a long time, right, figure it out. Like they're just happier. They're, and all the VH1 behind the musics of, how everybody gets everything they want. And then they just turn to drugs and alcohol and lose their wife and get divorced 8 times. And it's like, I'm not saying it's a formula one way or the other. I'm just saying like there's evidence at least of if you can figure this out,
Well, there's power in, what does she say? I choose us.
I choose us.
But so there's that commitment factor of every day I choose us. Because going into a relationship sort of empty or transactionally, or even looking at it like so many people do, like a battleground. If I do the dishes, maybe I'll get lucky tonight, sort of thing. Again, it's very transactional, but if you look at it like every day I choose us, even later in the movie when he gets the job opportunity and she is completely against it, but she's like, you know what? You made a hard decision. And in this moment, I'm going to choose us. And like you said, that's what we long for. right? But but what keeps us from it is that uncertainty. Like and there's even that uncertainty where the next scene, he wakes up, this blonde bombshell is laying next to him. He's got a Ferrari. He's got power. He's got money. And it seems like, it's like, oh, I want, like he later in the movie, he's like, I want both. I want the family and the job. But it's unrelatable. Like that guy's living in a penthouse apartment in Manhattan. It seems desirable because we don't know what it costs to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what it's like to live in a cluttered, never clean house with toys everywhere, poopy diapers, dog slobber, walking the dog. And even we get a flavor for that early in the movie when he's walking with his friend, I don't remember the character's name, Jeremy Piven.
Mm.
He's like, man, you got this house. It's incredible. You and Kate are awesome. Like, that's that theme of he thinks that people will envy and desire his old life, the life that he chose. But when you really get down to it, there is he's going to Aspen on Christmas afternoon. He's calling an emergency meeting. There is a cost. And what is the cost of our choices? And that's probably why I found this movie making me emotional, because I look back and I see the cost of my choices, good and bad.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's another universal element to this beginning scene that a lot of guys and women too, what we connect with. And it would be, so a lot of times when a guy is thinking, man, I'm going to get the better job. I'm going to get the promotion. I'm going to get the raise. I'm going to get the thing. I'm going to blah, 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 all the things. And you justify sacrificing time with your wife or your kids because you say, well, I'm doing it for them.
Right.
That's how you justify it. And that's how he's justifying it. This is for us. She's like, I know this job was good for you. He goes, no, us. Like he thinks he's for thinking us, about her. Right. And, but this is why we need the feminine in our lives. This is why we need the feminine, because the feminine says, in the end, that's not the most important part. Like if you're sacrificing time with me, for me, like, let's think about this logically. That's how people grow apart. That's how people start living different lives. That's how you get, you're hanging out with the secretary more than you are your own family. I mean, that's how this stuff happens. But that's how we justify it in our mind. Well, I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it to give her the big house and to give the kids the cars and the things and the blah, 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 blah. I remember our kids one time, we were talking, because, they're older and you can talk about stuff that used to happen. And they're like, and we talked about, we've talked about some of our financial struggles in the past. And we're not, we're not sort of despondent about stuff even now, but we're just kind of real about it. Like, yeah, it was, we had to choose a lot of free things, to do, and going to the park and doing we did a lot of stuff that was basically fun, but didn't cost a whole lot because we didn't have a whole lot when you guys were little. And I remember our kids looked at us and went, we never even thought we were poor. We never had that thought. I was the one worried, like, man, I can't get them the stuff I want to get them. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to give your kids good stuff. And God bless you if you're able to, right? But in the end, what we need to realize is that's what the feminine calls to us. That's why it's because what's happening in our culture a lot right now is people are putting that stuff off. Well, I'm going to wait to get married and we're going to wait to have kids until we're financially. It's like, you don't get it. Like, that's not how this works. And And it's almost better to kind of, I'm not saying we should get married like super early, but get married, like get into this relationship where you have to sacrifice and you have to, it's not about you. And like, that's actually better for you in the long run, than this idea of financial security might be, because that can be lost in a moment.
Right.
But the ability to have a partner and family and see that sort of stuff happen, is a powerful thing, which leads into part of the lie that he gets challenged. I don't know if we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we see him get on the plane and she's heartbroken. And in this alternate world that he wakes up in, he came back the next day and surprised her, and they lived this life. They did all these things. They got surprises. Life be lifing, right? But that's not how the real world had worked. Because he didn't make that choice. He did go to London. There is no marriage. There is no kids. There is no house in Jersey. And so one Christmas Eve, Jack's working on a deal, and he goes into a store, and like I said, he's a nice guy. He tries to, things are escalating, and he tries to de-escalate things for the cashier, for the woman in the store there. But along the way, he wins a ticket. And in this conversation, this is sort of two spliced conversations with Don Cheadle explaining. One is on the front end of Jack's arrogance that he's living in, that I don't need anything, with the sudden wake-up call. And so those are two side-by-side moments that we're going to dive into, because wherever we are, as you said, it can all be gone in a moment. All it takes is a phone call or a text message, doctor's report, pink slip. All it takes is an instant, and everything we thought we knew, all that certainty in the plan, all the faith in the plan, comes crashing down, and Jack gets disoriented, doesn't know what's going on, doesn't know what's happening, doesn't know where he is. And he has this sort of encouraging voice, because then he disappears for months. But in this moment, I think we see in Jack something that we experience, hopefully not often, but maybe from time to time.
How'd you know my name was Jack?
Call all you guys Jack.
Yeah.
Nice doing business with you.
Hey, what do you want? What do you want to carry that gun around for anyway? You're just gonna wind up doing something you regret.
Talking to the wrong person about regrets, Jack.
I mean, there must be programs out there and opportunities.
Wait a minute. Are you actually trying to save me? This is bananas. This man thinks I need to be saved, yo!
Everybody needs something.
Yeah? Well, what do you need, Jack?
Me.
You just said everybody needs something.
I got everything I need.
Wow. It must be great being you.
I'm not saying that you'd be able to do it without some hard work, some honest hard work, and possibly some medicine.
I'm going to really enjoy this. You just remember that you did this, Jack, okay? You brought this on yourself.
What's happening to me?
Breathe into the bag, Jack.
This kind of thing makes a lot of guys have to throw up. I've seen it happen before, okay? So if you feel the urge, you roll down the window and do it out there. Like, try not to get so worked up, Jack, okay? After all, you brought this on yourself.
Brought one on myself. I didn't do anything.
I got everything I need. That sound familiar?
You mean because you thought I was cocky? I'm now on a permanent acid trap.
Bag yourself, Jack. Oh my God! Ah! The way you intervened in that store last night, you did a good thing there, Jack. I mean, it was incredibly impressive, all the way across the board to the upper echelons of the organization, let me tell you.
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
This is a glimpse, Jack.
A glimpse? A glimpse of what?
Well, you're gonna have to figure that out for yourself, and you got plenty of time.
How much time?
As much time as it takes, which in your case is probably gonna be considerable.
Okay, look, I just want my life back, okay? Now what's it gonna take? You want to talk turkey? Let's talk turkey. How much money?
It doesn't work like that, and I can't tell you why.
Why not?
Because you have to figure this thing out for yourself. Are you listening to me?
Figure it out. Figure out what?
Let it come to you, man.
You know, I don't have time for this right now. I'm in the middle of a deal.
Well, you're working on a new deal now, baby.
Working on a new deal now, baby.
He offers him money. I just want my old life back. And so the lie that Jack believes is, I don't need to be saved. Yeah. You need to be saved. Which on the surface, you would agree. The guy who pulls a gun in the convenience store is probably the guy that needs some help. The guy who's got making $1 billion deals and doing the whole thing and the Ferrari, he doesn't need to be saved. But I don't know if you caught it. I didn't catch it before, I don't think, but I was watching the clip this time and there was a cross in the background. There's like a cross behind them while they're having that conversation. But that's the lie. He believes that he doesn't need to be saved. And so he has to be brought into an experience that reveals the real values and all that stuff.
More than that is that he was the source of his own salvation.
Yeah.
Right? They were in this middle. He's like, oh, well, what do you need? You need me to go to Aspen to save the deal. You need me to schedule this meeting. Even later on, they're like, oh, Jack, you're here. Tell us what to do.
Right.
Oh, great savior of our plans and mergers and finances. But I love that thing where even in the beginning, he's like, you with walking around with the gun, you're going to do something you regret.
Right.
How many of our regrets we don't even frame as regrets? Because we don't think about the opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and he even, like, to your point of he thinks he did it all himself. That, he thinks he got this job and got to this point. He's like, I'm not saying it wouldn't take a lot of hard work, right. A little medication, but you can do this, and yet he's, and what I like about it, just on spiritually, unless God intervenes, or the supernatural, that's what's happening in this movie. Unless God intervenes, we are blind to our own need for salvation.
Right.
That's who we are. Unless God intervenes. And that's that's very biblical too. It's one of the traps of wealth, where Moses tells them before they go into the promised land, all right, so here's what's going to happen. Whatever you do, don't start trusting in the stuff that God's going to give you, and let your heart be turned away from, really believing in God. Like, don't do that. And of course they do. But that's also, Jesus talked a lot about it too. And Paul talked about it too. Like, this is, again, wealth isn't evil, but where we put our heart can be. Well, the lie that this stuff actually makes us secure, saves us, whatever it might be, that there's some real issues to that. And so he has to be shown and given a chance to what I would call repent, but make a change. And he's even given, this is a little ahead of ourselves, but he's even given the chance to make the decision again.
Right.
Like that's good writing, by the way. That's what you do. And for him to change, he had to meet, I forget the guy's name, the
Philip Lasseter.
Lasseter. He had to meet, he had to run into Lasseter again. He had to be given an opportunity to climb that ladder again. He had to have the same opportunity and make a different choice this time. And that's kind of where the movie ends up, is he had to make a different choice. And so he's kind of on the verge of doing that in the fake life, and then once he's pulled back out of it, he has to come to his senses, as it were,
Yeah. And that he almost has as over the top reaction as he had this panicked feeling of pulling out of his original life into the family life. When the reverse happens and he wakes up on Christmas morning and his wife and 2 kids are gone and he's the bigwig, he's not panicked, he's depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew what he had and he lost it. And there's a lot of different things. We've talked a couple of times on the podcast before about the ideas, the different types of wealth. And there's like 4, there's 5, there's 7, there's 20, who knows how many times. There's wealth of wealth. But the kind of the 5 basic ones, you've got financial, social, time, physical, mental. We'd throw spiritual in there. And if you look at Jack, he's got financial wealth, probably physical wealth, because he looks like he's in pretty good shape. But mental and time and social, the connections, he thinks his lasting legacy is in the business he's creating. And he does get that experience where he goes in when he wakes up with Kate and he rushes in there and all of a sudden his name's not on the building. He's not the president. And he gets to experience, he's got that moment with the daughter, Allie. He's like, "You're not my daddy, are you?" Which was, again, like you were saying, like that's good writing.
It is good writing.
Like she tells that he's not, he's like, "You're right." And then that moment towards the end of that, figuring it out, where she sees her dad come back. She's like, I'm so glad, I knew you'd come back. And I'm like, why is this getting me so choked up even just talking about this? It's because, this dude, he's got his whole heart back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is what it means to be truly alive, to be truly wealthy. And he's like, he's desperate. He would give up everything to stay now.
Right.
He's not talking turkey to get back. He's like, don't take me from my kids, my wife. And it's been, 3-4 months. And once there's an intervention, there's always a choice. And we see it in this movie. He almost goes to Aspen. He almost re-enters his old world. But instead he goes and sees Kate. He sees what Kate could have been. Because there's a cost to her too. There's a cost to Alan, his buddy there at the firm, because he doesn't really get the opportunity to become everything he could have been. And Kate blows him off. It's like, and even at the first time when he shows up at the airport, he's like, "Do you need closure? We're good, dude. I don't need you." And he says, "I've seen it." So in this, as we're and the really cool thing about this movie is it leaves you hanging.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just watch them drinking coffee, talking. And I feel like this conversation is going to sort of leave you hanging. Because in this Christmas season, God intervened. He sent Jesus to us. And in your life, somewhere God's intervening. Where is God showing up? But then what are you going to do about it? Because Jack could have left Kate. Again, she's like, all right, I don't have time. If you're ever in Paris, look me up.
Right.
Okay. And then even at the airport, do you need closure? We're good. I've got to go. But he took that he became, because he had become that man who would sing to his wife on her birthday, all terrible sounding, and dance in the middle of a restaurant that wasn't really built for dancing. And he would say, and he was willing to risk. He was uncertain with the outcome. But he's like, I've seen what we could be. That's faith. I've seen things that don't exist.
That's right.
And I want to bring them to life. And that's what God is inviting you into. Yeah, you don't know the ending. You don't know if she's going to go to Paris at the end of the conversation. It just stays with them drinking coffee at the airport as the snow falls.
Okay, so first of all, writing-wise, we would not have liked the movie if he got to stay in the glimpse, because he would have had no consequences for making a dumb decision and wasting 13 years. Like, we wouldn't have liked that. There would be no justice in that, right? It would have felt wrong. And so he decides not to go to Aspen. He realizes, I'm going to have to start making some different decisions, because he's been given a new aim. He's been given a new goal. Okay. So we all know it's about transformation, but it's also about the quest. And the quest is not about the goal necessarily. The quest is about the becoming on the way to the goal. So his goal was to become a successful businessman, and that's why he became who he became. So what he had to be given was a different glimpse of a different goal, of different value, of different wealth. And so he starts to make different decisions, at the end of the movie, when he's back in his old life, he starts to make different decisions, because now he has a new aim. He wants to be that man. That's the man he wants to be. And so now he starts to make different decisions. He goes to the airport. He makes a fool of himself, and he says, I choose us. And that's why the end of the movie is satisfying, that we don't really know what happens with him and Kate. But what we see is that he didn't waste the glimpse. He has a new aim. He has a new goal. He's going to start making decisions based on what really matters. And hopefully, we hope, and we can imagine, right? That's fun. It's like, right. Well, I wonder what's going to happen. But that at least that's enough for us to be satisfied, I think, at the end of the movie, to realize he's going to start making different decisions because he's going to be a different man.
And that's, again, why Jesus came, is to make us different men.
That's right.
And as I've been saying lately, Jesus, in the Sermon on the Mount, he didn't come in asking us to do hard things. He came in telling us to do impossible things that we can only do with him. So what do we do? We have this conversation. What do we do with that? One of the recurring themes of Jack's entrance into family life was this idea. She said, how can you look at me like you haven't seen me every day for the last 13 years? And I feel like that sort of thing happened, when they're dancing in the restaurant, when he enters into things new because it is, but at the same time, we see how his wife comes alive as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I, several years ago, when we were dating, we'd have these questions to the point where it's like, yes or no. The question was, do you love me more today than you did yesterday? And every once in a while, we'll still pop that out. And actually, my wife and I, we just she won an award this last weekend.
Cool.
And we're celebrating, and back at the hotel, we're spending time together, sort of just enjoying the rest of the evening and having these conversation. And I'm telling her, I was like, there's my heart for her. I love her so much. I do love her more. Is it as passionate as when we'd make out in a bar? No, but that's sort of weird. Sorry, bar folks back then. But I told her, it's like, I would do anything for you to be seen as amazing as I see you. And I think it's really easy for us to lose track of how amazing our kids are, our wives are, our friends are, to realize how rich we are.
Right.
And just to say, hey, like even Jeremy Piven's character, he's like, oh man, what you said last year was really, that helped me so much. You pulled me back from the edge, man.
Right.
But then to say, to look at your wife and romance her like it was before you were married, or to just love on her, even if you're to love your children and to just delight in them, to play out in the snow with the little girl, to just look at the boy, you know, as he's getting ready to leave and be like, he's amazing. Like the speech at the airport of, she's awesome and he's amazing. We've got these awesome kids. And yeah, the kid craps his diaper, but that doesn't make him less amazing. You get in a fight with your wife and that doesn't make her less amazing or less beautiful. You married her for a reason. What would it take every day to the first thing in the morning and every minute throughout to look at your wife and to say, I choose us? And to mean us, right? Because in the beginning, he's like, no, it's a good opportunity for us, right? And which was garbage. But our question, you know, and the question is, as we come back, is what are you going to choose this day? What choices? Because our choices determine who we become, or really our choices reveal who we are becoming.
Yeah, and like I said, the aim determines the becoming. Like the aim determines who you become. I mean, I just listened to a podcast about the Holy Grail and about how I think it's Percival. One of the knights didn't get the Grail, not because he didn't reach it, but because he was the wrong person to get it. He didn't make the right choices along the journey to become the right person to get it, you know? And these are lessons from fairy tales and, old ancient, wisdom sort of thing. And so I just want to, so that's the first thing. What's the goal?
Yeah.
Like at the end of your life, you're going to, on your deathbed, what do you want to have said about you? When you go and as you stand before God, what do you want to have said about you there? And as you said, we are now in our 50s and we have both made mistakes because that's what it means to be human. And maybe I've done a lot of stuff right, but I haven't done everything right, and maybe you're a guy and listening to this or a woman listening to this and you think, I've wasted 13 years. I've wasted 20 years. I've wasted 25 years. I haven't been living right, for whatever span of time. I haven't had the right goal. I haven't had the right aims. I haven't had the right values, and it's easy to give up and think it's just lost, right?
That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is. I can't make it better now. And I just want to speak against that lie. Because yes, you might have to deal with some consequences, right? Some things. But here's the promise of the Bible. If you repent and you start making different choices, one of my favorite verses is from the book of Joel, where God says, I will restore all that the locusts have eaten.
Mm.
Because the first half of Joel is the pissed off God, because he's like, you guys were idolatrous and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I sent locusts on your stuff to teach you, like, this is not how life goes well for you if you just give up on me and you're not, you're whatever, you're idolatrous and doing the whole thing. And then he calls them to repent, and then he starts promising them things. If you repent, if you turn, if you do these things, I will restore. He sent the locusts, but I will restore everything that they ate. He's a restoring God. He gives back double. He gives back sevenfold whatever is stolen. And again, it might not look like what we want it to look like, but he is a restoring God. And it's also, by the way, the book where he talks about, I will pour out my spirit on. I mean, like, that is an amazing promise that he's giving, right? So,
yeah.
So that's why we wouldn't have liked the ending if he just didn't have any consequences for wasting 13 years. But it's important for us.
And we wouldn't have liked it if he had been like, oh, it's not going to work out. I'm just going to go to Aspen.
No,
that would have been so depressing.
That would have been depressing. It would have been a tragedy because he didn't learn anything.
Right.
He needed to learn, like, okay, what does it look like now? And that's the question that we have to ask. What does it look like now for me to start making the right decisions, for making the decisions about valuing the right things? Because it looks different when my kid is 18 than it did when she was 4. It just looks different. Yeah. And it looks different maybe because of our relationship. Maybe I got to rebuild some stuff, maybe, or whatever. But as we talked about before we started recording, I've seen men who changed late in life. I've seen men, my dad being one of them, and they are different people. And they have become different people than they were. And it's a beautiful thing to see the way they love people, because they just decided one day, because God brought them there, I got to be different. This isn't the way. And it can happen, and it can be a beautiful thing, and God can restore things. But again, that's just to give people hope. God's not done with you. God hasn't forgotten you. God hasn't written you off. He didn't write Moses off. He didn't write Peter off. He doesn't write people off. That he longs to have us turn to him and start living with the right value and aim.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. And I think, again, going as we're at the end of this year, I loved what Matthew McConaughey did. His practice was to write down who his hero was himself in 10 years.
Right.
Who does he want to be? What words do you want? And so sit down at the beginning or the end of this year, or the beginning of next year, and be like, God, who do you want me to be? Like you said, what do I want people to say on my deathbed, at my eulogy? What do I want my life to look like 10 years from now? That's the aim. And then what choices do I have to make today to make that a possibility? That aim's going to change. God's going to give you different visions, different ideas, different plans. The surprises that they talk about in this movie.
Yeah, I love that.
But along the way, like, he saved Ed's life, right?
Right.
He's calm under pressure. Like, who he was came out through the journey and through the adventure. Like, and that's what happens for us as well as we walk with God in this. So, So Britt, thanks for finally letting me do this movie. And like I said, I got emotional a few times, and so thanks for helping me process why it was that I got emotional in that. And thanks for hanging out with me, man.
Man, thanks for doing it. It's been one of the things we bantered it about, or whatever, batted it back and forth a few times, but there's always Star Trek or something else I love too. Yeah. But man, it was good as usual.
And this is probably hitting right up with our anniversary time. So this has been 5 years of you and me doing this together. And just thankful for you, man.
I'm thankful for you, man. It's been a blessing. I tell people about this podcast all the time. I don't know if they listen to it, but I'm like, this is the fun. This is the fun one. They're all fun to me, but this is a fun one.
Well, thanks for doing this with you. I love you, buddy.
Love you, man.
And have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And this has been Paul McDonald. Yeah, go ahead. You say something. I'll start over.
Merry New Year. No, I was going to do that. Trading places.
So this has been Paul McDonald and Britt Mooney talking about The Family Man. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join us next time here on the Men at the Movies podcast.
Something inside has been awakened. I can no longer be who I was before. But if I am no longer who I was, who am I to be?